Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. And of course, we are still early in the new year, the start of another year, and we still have the opportunity to get ahead of our financial strategy in 2022. And that's what we want to help you with here on the show today. There are several deadlines to remember throughout the year. We want to hit the highlights so you can mark your calendars for key retirement dates to remember for 2022. So go ahead, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. You're going to want to jot some of these dates down. And Philip, before we get into it, always a pleasure to sit down with you. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you're doing great today.
Hey, we are, man. It is a new year, 2022. We're excited about what can happen this year and hope for the best. You know, we made it out of 2021. Which is also a good thing, right? So we're excited about 2022 and what it has to offer and what it's going to bring. So.
That's right. And it's a little, I'll admit, it's a little overwhelming when I go through and I look at these dates that we're going to be going over because I'm still, recovering from the holidays, and I know we're going to go all the way through some of our deadlines for the end of the year, and it's going to feel too soon, and you might feel a little overwhelmed and angry at us, but we've got to talk. We're going to have to talk about.
We got to lay some stuff out, right?
We've got to lay some stuff out.
People know what's coming down the pipe.
That's right. But it can be difficult. I know there are things I go through and I put on my calendar and I think, oh my gosh, why did I already have something that ended in 2023 that I'm even talking about right now? Like it makes me feel anxious. But Philip, again, so here's some of our deadlines that we want to be going over. I've got a few things here. The first one, basically the first quarter of the year from the start of the year, January 1 until March 31st. That is the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. So our first deadline for you to know about, March 31st, that is when the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period ends. And also that is the Medicare Part A and Part B general enrollment period. So generally speaking, the first quarter of the year is some opportunities to make some Medicare decisions. So that's the first thing that we want to talk about. Here's the one, though, or the first date that I want to mention, but here's the first one that I really want to talk about, Philip, because this caught my attention. April 1st is the deadline for your first required minimum distribution, your first RMD. And I thought, April Fool's Day? What? Are you serious? Because I thought December 31st was when we have to make our RMDs. So what's going on with that one?
So the key thing is your first required minimum distribution. So if you turned 72 in 2021 and you had an option, you could either go ahead and take your RMD, your required minimum distribution from your IRA or your 401k, or you could wait. And you could wait until the next year to take your first one. So that means if you were 72 last year, you got until April 1st of 2022, this year, to take your first required minimum distribution. Now, the issue with that, Jen, is that doesn't mean that you're done for the year, because now you still have to take your second one. You have to take the one for, because you're just taking that one for 2021. So now you have to take the one for 2022 before the end of 2022. So this only occurs in the first year that you have to take it. And so if you didn't take yours in 2021 like you're supposed to, then you have till April 1st to take it this year, but you still have to take your 2022 before the end of the year. So you kind of have to double up this first year if you didn't do it last year.
Now that you walk me through all that, I remember there was an article I saw not too long ago about RMDs, and somebody had a question about this. They had inherited an IRA and were under the impression that they had until April 1st to take their first distribution from it. But that was not the case, because they inherited that, so distributions had already been taken, so they were going to be the beneficiary of that. They weren't the owner. So this is one of those scenarios where even death doesn't get you out of RMDs. Somebody's got to take that money money out. So that really speaks to the need for planning with taking money out of those accounts, because you can't die and get out of this thing. Like, somebody's got to make sure they take care of that.
Somebody's going to pay tax on that money some way, shape, or form. Now, the other date that I think people need to write down, because this one even caught me by surprise, Jen, is tax filing day. It's usually April 15th. Mm-hmm. But April 15th in 2022 is Good Friday.
Oh, okay.
So that's usually not a national holiday. It is a religious holiday. But the IRS pushed the due date till that following Monday, April 18th. So you've got until April 18th to file your 2021 tax return. Now, remember, we had some leniency in 2021 and 2022 years because they kept pushing those due dates out.
Mm-hmm.
At least at this point in time, that is not the case for 2021 taxes due in 2022. You have to have them in by April 18th. So don't let that pass you by. If you do, you could be in trouble. Make sure you file an extension if you're not going to have your taxes ready by April 18th. Now, talking about extensions, so that's the next date. October 15th is still the tax extension deadline. So if you filed an extension, you've got until October 15th to actually file your return. So that's the tax stuff that becomes kind of an issue throughout the year, and you need to have those on your calendar. And then, of course, then we talk about Medicare again. The annual election period comes up. It's always in October.
Right.
Starts the middle of October, goes till the first week of December, usually December 7th in 2022. And guess what, Jen?
You're talking about December of 2022.
We're back to December 2022. And December 31st, folks, is the last day you can take your required minimum distribution for 2022. So, and that's not all. There's other deadlines that day, right? That's the last day that you can do Roth conversions. You can't start them. They have to be done and completed that year so that they're included in your taxable income. And then thirdly, if you're doing charitable contributions, they need to be done by December 31st. That includes QCDs out of your IRA. That's qualified charitable distributions. Have to be done. The check's cleared by the end of the year. So a lot of things to remember as we head into this year. But that's why you have folks like us to help you through those processes, right? And so, look, if you're out there, you're looking at the year and think, man, it's a long year ahead. You're thinking about retiring, but you don't know if you can. That's a great time to sit down with us and walk through our core retirement design so that we can help you design the retirement you always dreamed of. It's simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. We can help you look at the numbers and determine where you need to be. That, again, is our core retirement design. It's our trademark process. We would love to sit down with you and walk through that process before the year gets too long, Jen. Learn about how to keep your current standard of living in retirement, even as costs continue to rise. It's complimentary to do this analysis. There's no obligation, but you do need to have saved at least $150,000 for retirement. Call us at 863-285-3815 and ask for your written retirement income analysis. And after we've analyzed where you are right now, then we can help you start mapping out your strategy to get you where you want to go. Folks, this isn't something about big wins. Let's hit it big in the market. We aren't doing this to make you rich. We want to help you make sure that you don't end up outliving your money. Call us at 863-285-3815.
Take advantage of this special opportunity from Philip. We'd encourage you to get started today. 863-285-3815. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial x-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Are you near retirement and facing a layoff? You may have some important decisions to make regarding your 401k. If you don't work there, should your money stay? This decision could be critical to your retirement. Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services have worked with many families with these types of decisions and understand your options. We can look at the options for your 401k that could save you on taxes down the road. Call Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services and schedule your complimentary 401k review at 863-285-3815. Philip and the team are ready to assist you no matter how, by phone, video, or with an in-person visit. Call Philip Statler and the Statler Financial Services team today for your 401k review. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. You can check him out online at statlerfinancial.com if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Again, that's statlerfinancial.com. Philip, how many times have you heard this one before? It's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. I think I've heard you say that before a time or two.
I think so, because that is what's important, right? I mean, if you make a lot and you spend a lot and you have nothing left over, it's just not going to get you very far, Jen.
Exactly. It's less about the number of dollars you've saved and more about the strategies that you use with your savings. And the goal is for your money to be moving in the same direction for a singular purpose, and that is your retirement. So, Philip, what are some things we can do to get our money moving in the right direction so it's working for us in retirement?
Well, I think, Jen, that there's a couple things that I think folks need to realize, and we talk a lot about on the show here. And that's one is understanding risk and understanding how risk, if you have too much risk in your portfolio, can really and truly take money away from you, especially if you're in that 5 to 10 year time period before you retire, or you're in that 10-year period after you retire. I'm going to say that 20-year spread there is just vitally important, because if you make a misstep, it can cost you dearly when it comes to your retirement assets. So number one is getting the risk right. Well, how much risk should you have in your portfolio? And does it really and truly match up with your risk number? And then the other part, the thing I think is important, is how much are you paying in expenses and fees that you don't see? And a lot of people say, well, I'm not paying anything. Well, if you own mutual funds, let's face it, you're paying something somewhere. And so it's important to know what those fees are and how those could be impacting your retirement also. So, I mean, those are just a couple things that will help you keep moving in the right direction.
Saving money, as we talk a little bit about what's going on with our money goals at different times, saving money is the big goal for a lot of us during our working years, right? But it's not what we're doing in retirement. Creating income is the big focus during retirement. Talk a little bit about, as we are trying to get our money moving in the right direction, Philip, how do we take that savings and turn it into income in retirement? Because income is different from having a bunch of money saved up.
It really is. You're so right, Jen. And, it's great to save money. I think is tremendous when folks head into retirement and they've got a nice nest egg saved up. The issue I have, though, Jen, is that folks don't switch gears. They continue to do what they've been doing while they were working in retirement. And that really becomes the issue, because if we don't make any changes, if we keep doing what we're doing, then that can be problematic as we move forward. Because in retirement, we don't have a job. We're not making money. We have to rely on Social Security, pensions. We have to rely on the money that we've put away for retirement. And we have to make sure that money is working for us. And so what I see a lot of times is people, they don't have a plan. They've got all these assets and they've done a really good job of saving for retirement, but they don't have an income plan in place. And so they just keep doing what they're doing. And that's the problem. We need to switch gears, really and truly about 5 years out from retirement. We need to be switching gears so that another 2008 doesn't come along and wipe out a big part of our retirement savings. So It's putting together that income plan. How much do I need? How much can I successfully take in income off of my plan to make sure that it lasts as long as I do, whether that's to age 80 or to age, I was reading the other day, 105. So I was reading an article the other day, this lady was 105 years old. So you need to be prepared for that longevity. And so that's the key to me is creating that income plan, because creating the income plan is totally different than saving for retirement and then having the income you need. So just kind of two different ways of thinking about things, and two different times of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to accumulate, and then we need to have a spending plan in place.
So let's talk a little bit about how we get help doing that, because when I think about other areas in life, with doctors, for example, my younger kids see a pediatrician, but my oldest has graduated from seeing a pediatrician, and now she sees a different doctor. We kind of know how this works when it comes to our health, but talk a little bit about finding the right help when we are in those accumulation years and we're building up and we're saving, versus finding the right help when it comes to managing retirement money.
Well, that's a good point. Relating to the medical field is good. So, your oldest daughter now, she's no longer, a preteen. And so, we have doctors that specialize in children that are, young. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of the same thing. You use a specialist when you need one. It's kind of the same when it comes to retirement income planning, Jen, because there are a lot of advisors out there that do a good job accumulating and growing portfolios. But it's a totally different animal when we have to start taking income off of that portfolio. And so it really does require that we work with a specialist that can create the income plan we need. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. We really work hard in creating the income that folks need to make sure that it lasts as long as they do and beyond, because that's the key. We don't know how long we're going to live in retirement. We don't know when the next 2008 is going to come along and create havoc with the stock markets. And so those are areas that are important. And so we need to take all those things into consideration as we plan for your retirement income. And it's I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
It takes a different frame, a different a set of circumstances to put that plan together. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial, is we really and truly focus on those folks that are 50 and up, because their circumstances are different than the 25-year-old who's just starting out. And so that's what we do, is we help people get prepared for retirement so that they can retire in style and do the things they want to do in retirement. So folks, look, give us a call. Let us help walk you through that process of changing from accumulation to retirement income, because it is two different ways of thinking about money. Don't get caught up in thinking I can keep doing the same thing, because you can't. It takes a change. Give me a call. Let me start that process with you. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is with Statler Financial Services. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. Philip, what are some signs you see that someone needs a financial professional to work with? What are some indicators that we should talk with someone like you?
Well, I think that somebody that has a decent sized portfolio, you say, well, what does that mean? It means something different to everybody, right? But in my book, look, if you've got $150,000 put away for retirement, then this is you. You need to have a specific plan in sight. And the larger you have in retirement assets, the more you need to have a great plan in place to get you through into and through retirement. So that's one thing, is just making sure that where are you at in the realm of what do you have saved for retirement. Two, I think that if you don't really understand the markets, you don't understand the financial situations, and if you're not working with somebody that their focus is not just growing your money, because that's, I won't say it's easy, Jen, but there's a lot of folks out there. There's a lot of us that can grow your money.
Sure.
But there's fewer people that can help you keep it through retirement and create the income stream you're going to need to retire on. So I would say that's one of those things that folks need to take in consideration.
Yeah, it goes back to that mountain analogy that we've talked about before. The last time I took one of my kids on a trip where we went and climbed a mountain, it was pretty intuitive to go up. We were just going to go up. We weren't going to miss the top because it's right there and you're just working toward it. But it's when you turn around and you come back down, that's when you have to start thinking about your path back down and watching your footing a little bit more, because that's where it's a lot easier to get it wrong and you could end up going down the wrong side of the mountain. So it makes sense when it comes to our money in the same way.
Yeah, because folks, it's a good analogy, because you misstep coming down and you could end up in the valley quicker than what you want to end up in the valley, right? So you're so right. I mean, that's one of those things is, and people don't realize this, but if you've ever gone hiking, coming down the mountain is so much more dangerous than going up. And if you've not ever hiked around the mountains, you may not realize that. And retirement or life really is no different, right? So when you hit the peak of that mountain and you retire, coming down from that mountain, if you have a misstep with your finances, then it could devastate your whole retirement. I think of those people that thought they were going to retire in 2009, right? They if they got caught up in that and didn't make any changes to their portfolio soon enough, a lot of those folks lost half of their money in the market. And so I know several that I had talked to that didn't move forward, decided they had to work a couple more years because they couldn't rebound from that devastation to their retirement funds. And that's what we don't want to see happen. That's why we're here to help coach people into and through retirement. And it's a big deal. We need to make sure that the closer we get to retirement, the less and less risk we have. And you don't know what that risk number is if you've not gone through the process to determine what your risk number is. And that's really the starting point for us, Jen, is we want to know what somebody's risk number is. And then we design everything around that. We design the portfolio around that. We design the income plan around that. All that based on how much risk somebody is willing to take. And having the right tools in place to come up with that number is a big deal. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. Look, if you're getting close to retirement, if you're 5 to 10 years out from retirement, or you have already retired and you're in that 10-year window after retirement, folks, please don't play around with your stuff. Talk to somebody that knows the planning process to put together the income plan for retirement. Give us a call here at Statler Financial, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Let us help guide you into and through retirement with a income plan and a risk analysis of your current portfolio. Again, that number is 863-285-3815.
Retirement isn't a sprint, it's more like a marathon. But how do you plan for something when you can't see the finish line? That's coming up next. Stay with us.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you can leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different. But taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services here in Sebring. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And Philip, one thing that I know about retirement, it is not a sprint. It's more like a marathon. And even for people who aren't avid runners, you understand the basics here, the difference between running the 100-meter dash and a marathon, right? With a marathon, you have to pace yourself so you don't wear yourself out before you get to the finish line. And that is not what you're doing with a sprint. And I've never run a full marathon, but I've run a half marathon before, Philip. And even though I couldn't see the finish line, I knew where it was. I knew what the route was, and I knew what I needed to do to get there. With retirement, you don't even know where the finish line is. That's the big challenge here, right?
You're right. That is the truth. And I've not ever done a half marathon. About the most I've done is a 10K, but I have done some Olympic distance triathlons.
Yeah.
Those things, on a map, like you said, where the finish line is, but it's a long haul. And so, when we look at retirement, there's some variances there, right? Mm-hmm. There's people that want to retire early at 62. There's people that want to at least get to Medicare age at 65 before they retire. There's those folks that are comfortable and want to work until full retirement, which depending on your age is 66 and some odd months or 67. And then there's those long haul folks, they're enjoy what they're doing. They don't need to retire. And so they don't need to start retirement until 70 or, and some people don't even retire to then, Jen. They just start taking Social Security because you have to at that point. You don't got a choice. So, but that's the thing is looking at what makes the most sense for you. Not just from a financial standpoint, but from a health standpoint, from a family standpoint, what do those things look like for you? Mm-hmm. And then how do you put that plan together to make sure that when you do retire, that you're going to have the retirement you always dreamed of? Because nobody wants to retire and then have to just sit at home and twiddle their thumbs. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And the big money part of this, if we're living longer and retirement is lasting longer, that means we have a lot more years of making sure our money will last. We have a lot more years of things like paying taxes and healthcare costs and all of that. And Philip, when I mentioned taxes there, that's a huge thing that we don't want to overlook when it comes to retirement. And it's so big. This is what actually brought you into helping people with retirement because you come from the tax side of all of this.
You're right, Jen. I do. And that is my background. And so, I remember back when I first started looking at financial planning and thought, I'm sitting here doing folks' tax return and it's time for them to get an IRA or time for them to retire and roll their 401k into an IRA. And so I sent them down the street to a couple of financial advisors I knew, thinking that they would be well taken care of. Only to sit down with them usually the next year because obviously I do taxes. I only saw them once a year.
Right. And
what did they do? They were in the greatest and latest limited partnership, or they were in some high priced variable annuity, or, they just weren't being taken care of.
It wasn't what you had in mind with what was happening with them.
It wasn't. Right. And so, my degree, when I graduated from Florida State, I had a degree in accounting and a degree in finance. And And I'll be honest, I loved the financial planning side of things. But when I graduated from college, the only way you got on that side of the business was you were commission based.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a salesman. I never have been. And to this day, I'm not a salesman. And so I knew I could never make a living on that side of,
Right.
of the table. And so I went the accounting side. I like taxes. That's the area I went into. But I realized early on in my career that I could do a better job than what I saw my clients coming back to me with. And so I decided then I could jump into financial planning and leverage my tax practice to those folks that were getting ready to retire and definitely put them in a better position than what I saw happening down the street. So that's what I did, and so we've developed that over time. And then about, 7, 8 years after I started adding that to my tax practice, I said, you know what? This is much more enjoyable. It's watching people be able to retire and being responsible for helping them do that. That's just so much more satisfying. And so, hey, I sold out of my tax practice and started doing this full time. And it's been a rewarding career to watch folks be able to actually benefit from my expertise and be able to retire when they want to and get the income that they need in order to retire. And so, there's a lot of folks out there that can help people grow their portfolios. There's not as many folks out there that can help you keep it and draw income off of it the way that you need to. And that's really and truly what I've focused on, is helping people retire and have the income they need to retire comfortably and to be able to enjoy their retirement, and so for folks out there who don't really have an income plan, don't have a retirement plan. Well, they've got a retirement plan. They're financial advisor, they're brokers that, just keep putting money into this. We'll grow it. But then when it comes to the distribution phase, they say, well, we'll take it out of this bucket or we'll take it out of that bucket with no plan in place. Folks, give me a call. Let's walk you through our process to help you develop that retirement income plan so that you can retire in the way that you want to, the quality of life that you really and truly desire and deserve. Give me a call and let's start that process. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and I'm Jen Rezac alongside Philip. So important, as you were just talking about, that we don't overlook the impact that taxes can have on our income over the course of our retirement. Definitely something that we want to be aware of. The other challenge, as we talk about not knowing where that finish line is for retirement, is how do we grow enough or make enough that it'll last the whole time? And that's where we can run into some problems with things like volatility and maybe having too much risk. Because if we're worried that we're going to live a long time in retirement, we've got to make sure that we've got money for a long time. How do we make sure we don't overdo it with the risk when we're trying to get some of those bigger gains to help us make our money last?
Well, and that's a valid point, Jen, is that if we misstep early in retirement, that can be a big problem.
Yeah.
And folks that retired in January of 2008, they had a rude awakening by the, end of 2008. And we don't know when that's going to happen, right? I mean, nobody has a crystal ball that says, hey, this is what's going to happen this year. We don't. I mean, I wish I could say I did, but nobody has that crystal ball. And so what that means is that when we do sit down with somebody that's getting ready to retire, that we have to do a better job of running some risk analysis and determining, number one, how much risk are they comfortable with? Because I can tell you back in the day, if I'd sit down and go through one of those little questionnaires that the securities industry uses, most people would come out and they'd be a moderate investor. Mm-hmm. Well, Jen, in 2008, when people thought they were a moderate investor, and a moderate investor would have been down 30 to almost 40% in the market.
Gosh, that's moderate.
they realized real quick that they really weren't a moderate investor. So there had to be a better way to gauge risk. There's been several different companies that have put together some different risk profiles now. And so we bounce between a couple of them because it is important that people know from a numeric standpoint where their risk is in terms of from 0 to 100. And then to use that same criteria to develop and to see where they are in terms of their portfolio. And I'm not going to say always people have more risk in their portfolio than they thought they did, because there's times that they don't have enough risk in their portfolio compared to where they should be. So I see both ends of the spectrum. I will say this, very rarely do I see somebody line up, within 10 points of where they should be on the risk scale. And so that's where I think it's important that folks that are, if you're working, if you're dumping money into your retirement plan, I'm not talking to you. Your risk isn't really a big deal. You can handle the ups and downs of the market. But if you're 10 years out from retirement, this is definitely an area that you need to be cognizant of, right? We need to know what our risk number is, and we need to know what the risk number is of our current portfolio, because we can be way off base and another 08 comes, and now it's not just that my portfolio is down. My portfolio is down, and now I might have to work another year or 2 years just to give it time to come back. That's what I don't want to see happen, Jen, to folks. And so that's why we developed the financial x-ray. We can x-ray folks' portfolio and determine how much risk is there and make sure it lines up with their risk number. And it's easy to get started. All they have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815 to get your financial x-ray, because that financial x-ray is going to give them a footing going forward to know if they need to make changes within their portfolio. Mm-hmm. The other part of that nobody really sees is how much are they paying in expenses and fees. This financial x-ray will go into that also and really look at how much are they paying in fees and expenses. So again, to get started, all you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Or go to our website, statlerfinancial.com, and we've got a link to our calendar right there.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services right here in Sebring. Again, the website is statlerfinancial.com. They have a lot of great resources available there. There's also a link where you can get right on Philip's calendar for that initial complimentary phone consultation. Again, go to statlerfinancial.com if you'd like to check all of that out. Stay with us.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial x-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Are you near retirement and facing a layoff? You may have some important decisions to make regarding your 401k. If you don't work there, should your money stay? This decision could be critical to your retirement. Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services have worked with many families with these types of decisions and understand your options. We can look at the options for your 401k that could save you on taxes down the road. Call Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services and schedule your complimentary 401k review at 863-285-3815. Philip and the team are ready to assist you no matter how, by phone, video, or with an in-person visit. Call Philip Statler and the Statler Financial Services team today for your 401k review. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And Philip, you know there are things you're not supposed to bring up at a dinner party, and I don't know if Joyce has to remind you things. There are times when Jeff and I are going somewhere, and I'm like, please don't. Here's a couple things to please not bring up when we get there. And there are a couple topics that are just uncomfortable. You don't even want to talk about them with your kids or your financial professional or your spouse. But these are things that are important to think about as you get close to retirement. So, Philip, we're just going to have to bite the bullet. We're going to dig into our top 5 for this week. It comes from Forbes. 5 most taboo topics in retirement. So are you ready for this, Philip?
I think I am. I'm assuming these are things nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to think they even exist, right?
Right. We just want to ignore it, but we have to talk about them. So here we go. Number 5, because we go backwards. We go from 5 down to number 1 on our top 5. Number 5 on our list is your mental health in retirement. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen with people struggling, Philip, with maybe a loss of identity or isolation after they leave their careers behind, because we identify who we are by our job. It's really hard, isn't it?
We do. That's so true. And so I think that's one of the things that you're right. Nobody wants to talk about that. Where I've seen people that have retired and, within a year, they're in a funk. They just don't really know what to do, or they're unhappy there. And they think that, okay, I'm going to go back to work. And a lot of them they'll just start to go back to work. But I think back to, my uncle. My uncle, he worked, I think he was like 70 or 72 before he finally retired.
Yeah.
This is very true. I see it. I've seen it with some of my uncles. I've seen it with some of my clients. They feel like when they retire, or if they quit working, they're going to die.
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
And I think that weighs on them to keep doing something. And so, and we have this conversation with people with our clients that haven't retired yet, that are starting to work on that. And my question to them is always, okay, so what is your plan to occupy your time when you retire? Because that does become the problem, right? Is now you don't have to get up at 5 o'clock to be at work by 7 or 7:30. So you have no schedule, and that all plays into depression, mental health, that whole thing. And so it's an area that people need to be proactively working against. And the way to do that is not just have a financial plan, but have a time plan. What are you going to do when you retire?
Philip, let's talk about the next one on our list. We are working our way backwards. So number 4 on our list of taboo topics in retirement is divorce. Over the past 30 years, the divorce rate after age 50 has doubled in the U.S., and this is something that causes emotional and financial upheaval at any time in your life. But talk about the challenges if this happens as you get close to retirement and all of the financial things going on at that time of your life. Well,
it is difficult no matter when you have a divorce. It's difficult in the family. It's difficult in the people involved. But especially, heading into retirement or slightly after retirement, because you are a team, and that team, especially if you put together any kind of retirement plan or income plan, it's based on the incomes that are there, and it's based on the two people that are married. And so if we have a divorce, then now we've got to split assets. One spouse, if they're relying just on Social Security, is probably going to have a lot less. So it just is a major upheaval. And then so the other part of that is that there's some things out there that a lot of times people don't think about when it comes to, the husband has, or let's just say one spouse has all the retirement assets in their name, right? They worked, all the IRAs or 401ks are theirs, and you can't split them. A lot of times people think, I can't split them without tax consequences, or they don't realize there is a tax consequence if you do split them. So I'll just throw this out there so that people know that there are ways around the taxability of splitting retirement accounts, and it's called a quadro, which stands for Qualified Domestic Relations Order. It's a QDRO. And I would say divorce attorneys should be up on this process and availability, and the process now of speaking with somebody that is one of the things that they're looking at. Is they're going to need to they're going through a divorce, they're going to have a quadro, and they're going to have to create some income from that. So it's tough no matter when you do it. In retirement, it's just like been together for so long, and now it's a huge change and a huge obstacle to overcome.
Certainly, some tough things to think about here. Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, going through our top 5 list of taboo topics in retirement. 863-285-3815 is the number to call to reach Philip and the team at Statler Financial Services if you're looking for a little guidance on some of these tough areas of retirement. That's 863-285-3815. Number 3 on the list is religion, and I'll give a quick example of how this might come into play. We won't spend a lot of time on this one, Philip, but it might not make financial sense for someone to tithe, but it's important for them to give something to their church. How do you handle making financial recommendations while also respecting someone's religious beliefs?
Well, Jen, religion, when it comes to their money, it is one of those fine lines you have to walk. I mean, I know, we've always believed in tithing and that type of thing for our church. And so I get it. Here's where I've had to have some tough discussions with clients because they're working and all of a sudden they retire, and in retirement, our income declines. And so they want to keep giving at the same level they were when they were working. And that can have a damaging impact to their income plan down the road. Now, it's great for the church or the organization, but it can be detrimental to the retiree. So because here's what they don't realize. Yep, Social Security, that's income. Their pension, if they have a pension, that's income. But that other leg that they're drawing money from, that may or may not actually be income. It could just be savings, right? And so it's kind of like already tax money. It's already tithes money. So, sometimes it's hard to get people to see that and realize that because of the emotional tie there. And so it's something we have to walk carefully through, but as the financial coach, retirement coach, and the fiduciary person in the relationship, I've got to ask the hard questions and walk people through the answer and the impact that's going to bring to them.
Going down to number 2 on our list of taboo topics. Again, it won't spend a lot of time on this because we just have a few minutes left. But number 2 on the list is relationships. Retirement has an impact on your relationship with your spouse, your kids, your grandkids. How important is it to talk about some of this stuff, Philip? Setting boundaries when it comes to the time you're going to spend watching the grandkids or how much time you're going to spend with your spouse when you're both home all the time.
That's true. And it's got to be more than conversation. You got to take action, right? So you're right. So if if your family all lives in the same town, then all of a sudden you've retired and now, the grandkids are left at your doorstep all the time for you to take care of and watch. And so your kids can go do whatever. And for a while, right, we love it, right? So, hey, they're our grandkids. We're spending a lot of time with them. And so I get it, but you got to set up some boundaries for what that's going to look like for our kids and grandkids. The other part though, is our spouse. We've been working up until retirement. So we're each away from each other for at least 8-10 hours a day. And so now we're retired. And now we're spending, a lot more time under the same roof. And that can be challenging. That's why we go back to two before this, divorce, right? So this can be a reason that one pops up at this point in the relationship, is because now we have no diversion. We're together. And so that becomes the problem. And so we need to have our time. I tell people, not only do we need an income plan, we need a time plan.
Yeah.
And that's part of what needs to happen there in retirement.
That's right. Working our way through the top taboo topics from Forbes magazine, and number one on the list is money. And Philip, this is ironic because we talk about it all the time here on this show, but talk about why some people see money as a taboo topic for retirement, and how do you help people get answers when they worry that they're just being nosy, or maybe they're asking the wrong questions when it comes to money in retirement?
Well, think about it this way. Husband and wife. Do they really have that conversation of, do we have enough to retire? Or is it just something we do, right? We're 62, I'm retiring. I'm 67, I'm retiring. Or do we have that discussion? And so nobody wants, or I won't say nobody, a lot of folks don't want to have that discussion of do I have enough, because they're afraid of the answer. And so I think that's a question that more people need to have sooner rather than later. So what's sooner? Well, I'm going to say, man, if you're 50 years old and you've not had that discussion, you've not sat down with a financial professional to say, what am I going to need? You've not put together that financial plan or that retirement plan that at age 50, you need to do that. You need to know how much, what's it look like? What am I going to have at retirement based on what I'm doing now? So that you know that you're ready to retire, that the money is not going to be the issue for not retiring. And so often, we don't want to ask. The kids don't want to ask their parents, are you sure? You're ready to retire. Do you have enough money to retire? Well, kids aren't going to ask their parents that. It's just not going to happen. And so I think that's why money is the number one thing, is because nobody wants to ask the question. Everybody assumes that if you're retiring, that you have enough. And that's not, I can tell you from experience and what I see, that's not always the case. Hey folks, if these top 5 taboos are on your list of things, or if we can help in any other way, that's what we're here for. We are an independent sounding board for you to help you prepare for retirement. Give me a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Give us a call today and let's get started on your retirement.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Remember that number, 863-285-3815. That's all the time we have for this week, but we'll talk to you next time.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial X-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid